It's getting colder, so definitely wearing these more. But what this is about is proprioception aspect. One thing that fascinated about me, this is mock by the way, the magma, is that the wool cuff. There's a wool cuff in here. It runs around here, your ankle fully, which gives this compression feel. So I enhanced the compression in a moment with a patch of NRX strap, which I put in here. But it's the transition from the shoe into your ankle that seems quite important with foot drop. Something you also get in this, but it's slightly different here because of the wool. I do like the leather in this one better. And I'm not sure if it's the seam, the way it presses here, while this stays more like a tube, if that's the difference. This has wool lining, which kind of has slight padding, which creates a similar feeling to the cuff maybe. But that transition is important. What they both have is this cutout in the back here, which gives you Achilles room. So when you stretch forward, it doesn't cut into the back here. So it's not super supportive as you would expect, but it's much more about sensory feel, still giving your foot and ankle the full movement, getting transition from the sole into your foot and your ankle. And that helps me in my walk, I think. And that's where high tops are different sensory-wise from low, because then all the sensory information changes here, where now there's some kind of transition. And I noticed that with the NRX insert, that it makes a difference. Another thing to note is the socks you wear inside. If you wear toe socks, it takes up more room than regular socks, and it's important that the regular socks are still foot shaped so they don't push your toes together. But the thickness is important, I think. That sensory wise, you fill the gaps in the shoe, so there's some kind of padding that gives you room to, so you don't get pressure points. If your socks are thinner, you will tie your laces tighter, you get pressure points, and those even out if your socks are thick enough. So it's good to have shoes that are the right size, have enough space on the front to get the push off and your toe can still extend. But it's quite nice to have that soft transition, and that's where I think leather is different from synthetic, that there's a better relation between the upper and the sole, where if it's synthetic, it's usually lighter, and so you got the sole and then the upper is separate, and there's some transmission disturbance between the low and the top. Proprioception, people think about the sole of your foot, while there's still a lot of information transmitted through the top. So it's quite important how that fits, if it has the right shape and room to give you the right information to make the transition. If when you push off, for example, and there would be too much room here, your foot would still have this shape instead of getting information to make that shape. That's the outside relation of the socks and the sensory of the NRX strap on the inside. We won't go into the other stuff in shoes, because I just wanted to talk about the proprioception aspect you get through the wool or the leather, and the design of this cutout and the padding here. So yeah, this has padding on the sides here, which is soft against your ankles. So this opens up here, and you can see the sock here, and that works quite nicely with these. This gives you the full ankle motion, and because this one has the same cutout and the pads here, it still has a similar feel, but it's slightly more rigid, which probably makes this easier to get that forward lean and push over these, and the sole of this is a bit stiffer. This is a softer sole, which makes it nicer to walk in than this one, although I'm starting to get used to this now. It's still easier to bend this for me. Yeah, that's the sock that creates the transfer between the sole, the upper, and your ankle.